High Priestess JEKLIK. Have your melee plus 2 tanks run into the boss and range along with heals at max range. She does a melee AoE silence. Healers will just have to heal through this damage. If you have a third tank, they can position themselves at least 10 yards from the boss between the melee and range group since JEKLIK will charge them. You can also use a hunter for this task since the charge also silences the target. Bats will enter the field, so the off tank should pick them up and AoE them down with the boss. At 50% is phase 2 and she'll go back to her humanoid form. During this phase she'll cast Great Heal and Mind Flay, which should be interrupted. There will also be fire patches on the ground, so make sure to dodge them. High Priest VENOXIS. Have one tank pick up the boss and another tank take his snake adds. DPS should AoE kill the snake adds as soon as possible. Now during phase 1, melee should just wait out and not engage the boss because of his Holy Wrath ability, which jumps targets and does a devastating amount of damage. Range and healers should be spread out at least 10 yards as well. At 50%, VENOXIS will enter his snake form and melee can engage the boss at this point. He'll do a lot more damage to the tanks at this point, so healers be aware of that, and he lays down poison clouds, so the tank needs to keep him on the move so melee don't get killed by these. At 20%, he enrages, so make sure to kill him. High Priestess Marley. Range and healer should stay at least 30 yards from her because of her poison bolt volley and its 30 yard range. Take her where she starts and your DPS should immediately kill the speaker ad accompanied by her. She'll cast Drain Life on a random target, which should be interrupted. Spiders will spawn, which need to immediately die because if they're up for too long, they will get big and angry. At some point, Marley will turn into a spider and wipe her threat from the current tank, and root them for 8 seconds, so the other tank should be ready to taunt to keep her in place. DPS should back off at this point to allow her to be repositioned, since if she enters the range group, she could start silencing people. BLOODLORD MANDOKIR. Have one tank on MANDOKIR and the other tank on Ogon. DPS should focus MANDOKIR first. He will do an AoE whirlwind, so melee should get away while he does this. He'll also charge random targets and drop threat, so tanks should be aware of this. MANDOKIR will start watching a random target for 6 seconds. This player should stop attacking the boss immediately and stop all movement, otherwise he'll charge you and likely kill you. There are spirits throughout the fight that will resurrect players in case they die, but every 3 players that are resurrected, the boss will get a significant buff, so it's best to not die. Once MANDOKIR is dead, focus Ogon. Edge of Madness. Your group needs someone with a Gurubashi Mojo Madness Potion to start the event, and one of 4 bosses will spawn. JEKLIK is the simplest boss. It's mostly tank and spank. He'll grow big and wipe all threat from the tank. If he's following you, just run away since he does move very slow. He will go small again, at which point the tank can pick him back up. RENATOKI is one of the possible bosses that can spawn. He's a rogue and will vanish through the fight. As soon as he vanishes, all players should use their AoEs to try and get him out of stealth, since if he stealths for too long, he'll ambush someone, possibly killing them. Other than that, just tank and spank. HAKKAR is another one of the 4 bosses. Hunters and Warlocks should use their mana drain abilities to keep him at no mana, or else he'll mana burn players in the raid. He will spawn a few Nightmare Illusions, which should be instantly killed since they have relatively low health. Finally, HAKKAR will put the entire raid to sleep for 6 seconds. The tanks will almost immediately wake up since damage breaks the sleep, so healers should make sure to keep HOTS on the tanks for this. WoW is also one of the 4 possible bosses that can spawn. All melee should stay behind him due to his Chain Lightning ability, which will hit targets in front of him. A lightning cloud will randomly spawn that anyone standing in it needs to move out of. Be aware that this can drop on the melee. High Priest THEKAL. He's accompanied by Zealots Lorkhan and Zealots Zath, along with a couple of Zulian Tigers that should die at the start of the fight. DPS need to attack these 3 evenly so they die at the same time. If they don't, then they'll get rezzed. The best gear tank should take THEKAL, since he will affect this tank with a Mortal Cleave, reducing their healing taken. He'll also affect a random player with a Silence, which should be dispelled. Lorkhan will cast a Greater Heal, which needs to immediately be interrupted. She can also disarm the tank, so be aware of this. Zath can gouge or blind his current tank, making them lose aggro. Another tank can taunt this boss when this happens, so it doesn't run around killing others. Once they all die at the same time, THEKAL will resurrect into a tiger. You should bring him back to around the area where he started, with all players having their backs against the wall since Force Punch will knock you back. Tigers will spawn through this phase, which need to be killed ASAP. He will then enrage at 20% health, so healers should be aware to bomb heals on the tank. High Priestess Arlok. All players should be in the back corridor of a room, so panthers that spawn through the fight are in a confined area. She can be tanked a little out of this corridor, so hunters can attack and so players don't get killed by her whirlwind. Through phase 1, all DPS should focus Arlok, cleaving onto the panthers. She'll gouge the current tank, so an off tank should get ready to taunt. After about a minute, she'll vanish and now's your chance to clean up the panthers. A random player will get a mark of Arlok, so panthers will fixate this player. Healers should just be aware of this. Once she reappears, she'll be in panther form and cast a whirlwind, which is a 360 degrees melee AoE, so tank should be ready to taunt her out of the group. Repeat this process to kill her. Jindo the Hexer. He'll spawn totems through the fight, a healing totem which heals the boss of course, and a brainwash totem which will mind control someone. Kill these totems immediately. Other than that, he'll affect random players with a curse, Delusions of Jindo. Don't dispel this because it will allow those players to see shades of Jindo ads, which are attacking people. Kill these ads when you see them. Jindo will also hex the current tank, so another tank should taunt and the hex tank should be dispelled. Then finally, he'll teleport someone to this pit of skeletons. You should have a mage AoE those skeletons down when someone teleports over there, then that person can enter the fight. Other than that, take down Jindo to finish the fight. Gazranka. This boss can be summoned in a special way. You can accept the quest from a tackle box at Pagel's Point in Zul'Gurub. Then you can purchase a musk skunk lure from Nat Pagel. Then you need a fishing skill of at least 380 to fish up 5 Zulian musk skunks in Zul'Gurub. Then you can spawn the boss at Pagel's Point. This boss is typically tank and spank, but you want to make sure you fight him in deep water since he'll cast Massive Geyser and shoot players high in the air. Other than that, tanks just face him away from the raid because of his frontal cone and you should be good. HAKKAR the SOULFLAYER. He'll mind control the main tank, so this tank should be CC'd, and hopefully another tank will take aggro. HAKKAR is immune to taunts. Your raid should spread out to reduce the amount of people with corrupted blood. Every so often he'll cast Blood Siphon. Before he does that, you need someone to pull a Son of HAKKAR into the fight, which are moving along the sides of the temple. Kill this Son of HAKKAR and everyone should run through the poisonous cloud it lays down once dead. This will give everyone a 1.5 minute debuff, but once he does Blood Siphon, he'll take a lot of damage from siphoning the poison. Just repeat this process and you'll down HAKKAR.